Hello, and if you are joining us for the first time, welcome. We are Remarkist, communities of fans who watch television shows and movies together virtually, but as if we're in the same room, gathered around the same television. We do this using the Clubhouse app, and we would love to have you join us for future watches. You can simply make an account on Clubhouse and search for our name Remarkist to find our club. Or if you'd like more information about the project as a whole, please visit remarkist.com to learn lots more about who we are and what we do. As for our recordings, remember that we always get our episodes started but paused at the 0-second mark and count down to pressing the play button together at the same time. That way, our experience can be as synced up as possible. You can pause this for a moment to get that set up, or if you're ready to go, let's get this thing started.
One thing, though, that is important is that we always skip the previously on. We start our episodes at the same time, right at the start of the episode. That's not an issue if you're on Netflix, but if you're watching these on DVDs, some of the episodes have previously on. I don't know if this one does, but if it does, skip ahead. I'm going to start recording here. Okay, we are now recording, and we're going to start our episodes at the same time on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. They both seem to like Christopher.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That makes 2 of us.
Nobody calls her Lore yet. Am I right?
And it's a pet peeve. I don't know why it bugs me.
I actually love it.
Annoys me. Maybe it's just because I don't like him.
Anytime anyone says Laura, I'm Christopher.
Oy, oy, oy. You can just already feel where this is going.
Yeah.
Just like retract fully.
Also, just that just isn't so in line with my feelings about Dean. Just the fact that even the name Dean feels like a real bag boy.
Oh gosh. He was formed out of a bag. Well,
this is really cool, but I mean, you just can already feel it, right? Like he's super charming, like Rory loves him, and he's promising the stars, and like eventually the motorcycle is going to drive off, and he's going to be gone.
yeah,
I mean,
but
Lorelai,
I feel it too, like her face.
Yeah, Lorelai's completely like, if it's too good to be true, then it's too good. And Stars Hollow is 20 minutes away from where he grew up, and she's 16 years old, and he's never been there. That blows my mind.
But Chris is Chris. Chris is just so good looking.
Right. I finally just
Nobody's
around
that good
now.
looking.
Staring at him for a while.
Not apparently that gives him a pass.
That's it.
Hey.
So he's
It does
cute, but
not.
he's not a good guy. Exactly.
I never said that because trust me, in my life, looks can be deceiving. But yeah.
The worst heckling ever.
I feel like
The little girl has a line coming, right? I guess not.
I feel like Kirk wavers between very smart and very dumb. Kirk running is so. You
I
can
feel
tell
like
that
the more
there's a
he
Kirk.
talks about something, the less he knows about what he's talking about. Kirk is my spirit animal.
That
See,
was
Dean has a motorcycle.
Yeah, I always wondered how that changed.
He has a
See?
motorcycle.
I told you. But you can also tell that there's a tarp over them because of the rain.
I mean, it must not have happened enough that she actually is even entertaining the idea that it could potentially be okay.
Oh gosh, God.
It's the craziest she's ever been.
I beg to differ.
And the use of the cell phone.
So this is going to be a fun bit.
Has anyone like talked about just why Dosey is spelled like deuce? Kind of off the subject.
It's always bothered me.
I always thought it was some kind of play on words, maybe, but
On set, when I was working on set, I used to call it deuce. I didn't know it was dosies. I learned that from fans.
Sorry, y'all.
I have a compact Oxford English dictionary.
12:31.
Sorry about that. Thanks, though. Oh my God, I own that. I own that.
That's awesome. Dare I ask how much it was?
About 400.
you didn't even realize how much of a Gilmore Girls reference something that you own is, and that's kind of amazing.
Believe it or not, I own 2 of them.
I have something that's a subtle hint to Gilmore Girls, but you have to watch the episode to understand why.
Is it useful in the age of the internet?
I mean, not really, but
it is actually pretty useful. I'll tell you about it afterwards. It's a pretty cool thing, the OED.
John, did you watch Professor and the Madman?
No.
It's about writing that dictionary.
Oh my God. Well, I'm going to watch it.
It's on Netflix.
Does Jackson mean Jewish?
That was what I was wondering.
Oh, that's a yikes.
no, I think
but
he just has a very
that came
distinct
from Andy
style.
Sherman Palladino, though. Keep in mind.
No, I know. I think he just meant like very like good breeding, like certain type of upper
I
class.
thought it meant that he could smell money.
Why is T's phone red?
Great line.
Yes.
Like, since when does she use a key? Like, what?
I know, right? Is it just me, or does the bar cart move every like few episodes?
It moves.
I feel like their living room looks totally different right now.
It's different.
Try to be careful that the volume on your episode isn't too high when you speak. God, everybody loves Christopher.
He has good breeding. Do I always sound sarcastic when I'm talking about him?
Everyone loves
Just
the
a little.
idea of Christopher.
Looks and charm. That's all I like.
You can tell how uncomfortable Lorelai is with them.
These two are real stuffy.
She's also the mom is Ted Mosby.
Sophie's mom as well in How I Met Your Mother, and she's completely different.
Christopher's dad's got a little bit of a nutty professor thing going on, no?
Here we go.
Whoa.
Go, Richard. Favorite line of the whole episode comes up.
Gosh, that Bush line also feels so dated. It's like, remember when George Bush was president? It's like, wow.
Am I that old?
Oh no, my episode just died.
Oh no, what should we do?
25-21.
If you don't mind, could we all pause for a second for me to sort of figure out what's going on here?
3, 2, 1.
Pause. Thank you. Oh God, I just knew this was going to happen with this.
This episode.
No, but with just
Mine
with.
just had a night or two ago.
All right. All right. Let's see. I can't start it again.
If you're on an Apple TV, I would just close out the app and reopen it.
No, it's my PlayStation and it's my internet because I'm also getting paused due to poor connection on the Instagram Live as well, which just completely died now. Hold on, let me actually restart my router. Sorry about that, guys. Talk amongst yourself for a sec, and I'll get this back up and running.
Okay. Can I just say that whenever someone is getting yelled at or like people are fighting in a TV episode, I always feel like I can't move because I feel like it's so awkward and I feel like I'm in the room watching people get yelled at. Is it just me?
Especially in this episode.
Exactly. I feel like I'm getting yelled at by Richard right now.
Not just you.
Cool.
So I asked this question earlier, but I think maybe I was in a poor connection in the basement. Do I take it from the fact that all of you guys are talking about this fan thing that a bunch of you were in Canada 3 years ago?
2 years ago, 2019.
Yes.
October 2019.
Wow.
I've always wanted to go to a fan
We're
fest,
so
but I've
close,
never
and I missed you. So
It was
in
so good.
Unionville? In Unionville?
Yep.
Yeah, it's normally in Connecticut.
So why was it in Canada this time?
Because that's where they filmed the actual pilot.
Very
was
true.
In Canada. So we got to see where the pilot was filmed, and it was actually really neat and a lot of fun.
So are they bringing that back considering we're still in a pandemic?
Yeah,
It's
they're
still
already
going
selling
on this
tickets here, but it's in Connecticut.
Do you know when?
It's like mid-October.
It's always October.
Where in Like- Connecticut do they usually have it?
It's in
Yeah.
Kent.
Oh, okay. Does anybody know the exact date? Because I will be in New York City mid-October.
It's like the 21st or 22nd, somewhere around there.
They have a Facebook profile and a website that'll tell you the date.
Okay, because I may have to. So I'll be in New York from the 15th through possibly the 22nd. So I may like pop down there for a day. Because that would be fun.
Just as long as they still have tickets available, that's the thing. It's a little pricey,
Yeah.
but it's worth it.
Yeah. Same thing like with because I've been to the One Tree Hill convention. But I didn't get a chance to meet anybody, which is so sad. And that one actually happened the week of my birthday one year. It's probably the best birthday present I could have ever given myself. So yeah, because Connecticut and New York City aren't far from each other. So
So did like actors from the show and stuff like that also show up in Unionville?
Yeah, they cast and crew.
John was there.
Yep.
Oh my God, I lived 20 minutes away and I missed all of that. I was in Toronto.
So like Liz always goes.
Liz was there, and so was
Grant the Troubadour.
right, and Luke was there, and
Caesar,
Caesar. Yeah, there was a whole
Zach,
bunch of them.
Mrs.
Mrs.
Kim,
Kim.
Miss Patty, Tom the Builder, Nick Nick
I'm like
Holmes.
kicking myself so bad right now.
I love
Totally.
Tom. Tom is like one of my favorite
I don't even know if you would count Tom as like a town character, but
Oh, and George Bell.
Yeah. And
Does
Stan
anybody know what
Zimmerman, Valerie, who did the costumes, like a lot of like behind the
Nick
scenes
Holmes was
people
there
too.
too from the Life and Death Brigade.
Yep.
does anybody know the website?
All right, folks. Sorry about that. I'm back up and running, and folks on Instagram, apologies for that. My internet went out, as I expected would potentially happen.
Where did we stop?
This particular episode, or these 4 episodes, for whatever reason, the DVD box set that I have, that DVD is corrupt and it won't read it. So I'm like kind of itching to get through these 4 so I can get back to my DVDs, which are so much more reliable than Netflix these days. Anyway, I'm at 2454, and I will. So that's for Instagram Live as well as for folks here. It's approximately where we left off.
Should we backtrack? We're at 25.
Yeah, you could backtrack to 25. And it's like it's right when he says like, I had to tell my friends that, my daughter, the best in her class, blah, blah, blah. And I'll start the timer back up again once we are, up, in about 45 seconds, because it's right now the timer is at 25:45. All right, so we're going to start on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Timestamp, please.
25:45-ish. This is very similar to like the whole thing that happened with Emily and Lorelai before Lorelai then goes snapping on Rory, right? Like that dynamic's very similar. He defends Lorelai, and then in private he snaps at Lorelai.
But it also goes to show that it's not just Emily who's holding on to the past and the resentment.
Totally.
Wait, this is great. Not even gonna heat it up.
I like eating some cold leftovers.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh, so sad.
I know, right? Oh my god. I feel so bad for him.
Oh God, no.
Also, she just goes down like that. Cannot be comfortable. Like that looks like it hurts.
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
I'm definitely a few seconds behind because I knew that was coming.
Sorry, John. I'll pause for a sec.
There's a hair on the film.
You know, air in the gate.
I love that. My parents really need to seal the windows.
I love that. Rory totally knows.
I would not be asking my mother about schmutz, knowing what she was up to. I think we're supposed to think that Rory's kind of slightly naive in this situation.
No, the look that she gave in the car seemed a little like, I don't know if she knows that they had sex, but
Timestamp?
33:43 ish. It's actually probably a little early. So probably a little bit closer to like 5 seconds ahead of that. Christopher's got some pop culture references in him.
Where's the garage?
I never thought about that.
I think that's like the extra rooms in Richard's and Emily's house. I feel like it was a budget expansion thing in the future season.
Very true.
The garage always felt like it was a little house on the side of the house. So it feels like it was something that was put in.
Not there now.
Yeah, it is not there. Nope. That is just, nope, it's not there.
They put it in just for you guys for Hep Alien. Also, Luke doesn't live upstairs right now. The second time he's come in from the outside.
I can't believe she did that by herself. Like, that's too insane.
Yeah, no way.
From the time that the bread guy let her in to the time Luke shows up, like, come on.
I mean, that she'd even be like so chipper and walking around, she'd be on the floor. Her back would be killing her.
Oh, mania is a wonderful thing. There are curtains right there in the window that they pan out on.
I swear, it doesn't take much for them, does it?
So are we supposed to be sort of coming into spring at this point?
I think so.
Oh. All right.
Because there's no more snow.
But I swear,
No more
every single
snow,
time
but
they pan out.
No more snow, but the trees are still a little, they don't have leaves on them, but the grass is green, which that just feels like we're coming to spring. It's interesting because I forget that's a convention that you see in older shows more, right? Where time progresses from episode to episode a lot further. Whereas I feel like new shows now have much more urgency to them. So like the episode, like every episode that follows, like feels like it's like a day or two later at the most.
Well, when is softball season? Is softball season a spring thing?
It is here.
Yeah, that would be a spring thing.
Spring thing. Hi guys, it's Babsy, right next to John. I actually have a question. I've always been wondering, like when you kind of see like the town, and you see cars driving around and people on the sidewalks, like how does that work? Like do they basically like tell a bunch of extras to walk around and drive cars around, or like, how does that work so that it fits the moment, Do you know what I mean?
I think I know what you're asking. Oh. You're just asking how does the whole background talent get? Yeah. Well, everybody is like all of those background, but I always call them background talent because I think that the word extras is a little weird. But they're all like they begin the scene, all at like a starting position, and then there are usually two calls that the assistant director makes. The first one is basically a call to tell all of the background talent to begin their action, and then the second call is to tell the main actors to begin their action. So you'll usually like hear that like, we're rolling and background, and then suddenly the background will all start moving. So the whole background will just like kind of come to life as people start like walking down. But everybody's got like a sort of starting position, like even if it's in like the middle of the sidewalk, and then they're moving, and then they say action for the talent, and then the talent moves in and starts to do their stuff. And usually like, on a big shot like that, that's like wide like that, the camera is like kind of turning and moving it in. So everybody, by the time the cameras move, everybody's moving, everybody's kind of moving around.
And so basically, when you have to do the scene again, like they all go back to their starting point.
Yeah, they'll say back to one. Like that's the most common thing that you'll hear is like, and cut. Okay, everyone back to one. And like back to one means back to your first position.
That's cool.
And that goes for everybody. That goes for that background talent. That goes for the actors. It goes for in some cases crew members that have things that they have to do, maybe move things into the shot, etc.
All right, thank you.
Cool, man. Once again, like I think I know what's happening, and then I realize I don't know what's happening. Like I'm totally off.
So what do you think of Christopher?
I wanted to dislike him, just because of his entrance. But I end the episode feeling very sorry for him and a little bummed for him. Not necessarily because he didn't get what he wanted, but more just because he seems a bit lost to me. He seems like a lost soul.
He does seem lost, doesn't he? And isn't it funny to see that Emily and Richard aren't actually the hardest on them? Like, there's actually worse than that.
Yeah, yes. I mean, oh my God. Like Christopher's
awful.
parents are horrible. I mean, his father is horrible. I mean, I get feeling the way that feels and all of that, but it's just like, just how entitled to feel like I can just totally tear this entire night apart in this other person's house because I feel so slighted.
Yeah, I kind of see Christopher as being actually very similar to Lorelai in many ways, but in the sense that, like, if Rory didn't exist, I mean, we don't know who Lorelai would be without Rory, but it kind of seems like, Lorelai might be kind of as unmoored and like, irresponsible and out there, because they just seem like maybe they were kind of at the same level, and then being a mother, being a parent was really different for her, obviously, than it was for him. It was like an anchor for her in good ways and bad ways.
I was just reminded by somebody on Instagram Live, that I had the hand raising. I had turned it off, so I just turned it back on, and that's a good time to let everybody know we are going to be chatting now for the next 45 minutes about what we just saw, and that means the couch has just magically grown longer than the 15 people that we have on stage during the episode. So if you want to join us up here on the couch, grab a seat on the couch, just raise your hand, come on up, and join us as we just chit chat about what we saw. I'm mostly going to be listening because I found it most helpful for me to hear what all of you feel about it. But I thought this was another strong episode.
I have to say,
Lincoln.
I was going to say,
let me just also mention that. Sorry, Tasha actually brought this up at the very beginning. So we use a flexible mix of ways to moderate our discussion here. For the most part, I think folks are pretty good about gauging silences and hopping in. So if there's a large enough silence, I just ask you to just chat so that it's not too stodgy. However, some folks have a hard time finding that right spot to go in. So we have another strategy for that. If you would like to speak, do what Tasha is doing right now, which is called flashing your mic. And that's just simply hitting your microphone in the lower hand over and over again. That's the way that we just sort of signal to the group that I'd like to say something. And I'm not always the best at noticing those. So I'd sort of love for everyone here on the couch to sort of be observant if somebody's been flashing their mic a lot, that we let them speak. So on that note, Tasha?
Oh, thank God, my fingers being so crampy. Okay. kind of like what Sabrina was saying, and I mean, obviously I've seen this, so I know like way more about my whole theory, but I kind of feel like Lorelai and Christopher have known each other since they were like kids.
They said they were
basically.
6.
Right. And so they know each other inside and out. I honestly feel like obviously Lorelai has a much better leg to stand on because she's a mother, she has her own business, and she like grew up very quickly essentially. But honestly, like Christopher is the guy version of Lorelai because like they obviously have the same like personality, they have the same like one-liners, they have the same like quick wit. Exactly. And obviously, like I just said, like Lorelai had to grow up, and she said it herself. I grew up like as soon as the stick turned pink, and I feel like kind of like I think Sabrina mentioned this or something like that, where like if she didn't have Rory, would she be in the same position maturity wise as Chris? And I kind of think like maybe not, just because like I feel like Lorelai may have found her way regardless of having Rory, but having Rory kind of sped up that process. But I will say this, my favorite Lorelai and Chris moment will be and forever will be that moment in the kitchen where she mentions The Offspring is your favorite band, and how that scene goes will always be my favorite Lorelai and Chris moment.
Just in general, that's such a great way to you know, sort of get to the heart of what's happening while giving it this other layer over the top of it, which comes back then at the end when they, you know, when he asks her to reconsider, and you know, that's just such delightful writing. You know, I actually had a question if anyone else picked or felt this way, because I felt sort of like, and you, what you just said here, Tasha, you know, I think spot on. You know, Lorelai and Christopher are, you know, surprisingly very similar. You know, like that was something that I picked up on there. Like they both are really quick-witted. They both have like all kinds of pop culture references, which was also really fun to hear coming out of him. And so I'm wondering how much in that last thing where she says, you know, he's not ready for that, right? How much of what she's saying is also talking about herself? Because if they are so similar, then that would suggest that, like, I get that she's had to mature a lot, you know, being a young mother, and you know, and grow up, I guess. And he's not grown up, but there are also aspects of her that we've already been discussing that are also still not quite mature. And I wonder if she recognizes that in herself, you know, as somebody who may not be ready for marriage herself and ready for that kind of, just in general, that kind of settling down, I guess, with somebody, and if so, that might give us a little, or at least give me a little bit of an understanding of what's going on with some of these other characters like Luke and Max, etc.
I think like in a sense maybe she, like, obviously she grew up because she had Rory, and that might have been like, she may not have wanted to grow up that quickly, but there's a phrase in a different TV show where it's kind of a similar thing. Girl gets pregnant when she's very young. She grew up because she had to, not because she wanted to. So I think she did the responsible thing of being mature because she's a mother and she had a kid and she had to provide for this little baby while being a kid herself. But it doesn't necessarily mean that she wanted to grow up that quickly. She may have wanted to do certain things, and she still has that like young mentality, and that's why her and Rory are so close, because she was a kid when she had her, and she kind of had to grow up with Rory in a sense, and she kind of like missed all that, so she might just be like, I'm not ready myself because I'm still growing up myself. And that's why she said this thing about the line about Chris, like, he's not ready to take us on full time because I'm not ready yet, because I still have some growing up to do. So,
Hey, Krista's flashing.
Yeah, Krista, what's up?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes Lorelai is not self-aware about certain things, and I feel like the relationship thing is, she wants a relationship, she wants to be committed, but when it comes down to it, it's like she doesn't know how to handle it, or it's like she wants it, but then when it comes on to it, she freaks out or she gets afraid, or so. But I don't think she realizes that she doesn't know that's going to happen until it happens, I think. So I think so I don't know. I think with Christopher, I think I don't think, sorry, I don't know. I guess kind of, I don't know. That's kind of what I have to say. Anyway, so we can continue.
I mean, I see what you're getting at, Krista. I mean, I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at in general, that Lorelai, that ending for me didn't feel like it was really as much about him as it was about Lorelai herself.
Well,
Wendy.
Sorry. I think that maybe, I mean, this is probably a little bit too close to home, but I think, yeah, she's probably not ready, but why ready on something so untried and so, unreliable? And for her to say also that he's not ready, well, she had that little tidbit about the fact that he lied basically about his financial situation and trying to make himself look better. So that doesn't really speak well for his stability yet. And I personally wouldn't want to take a gamble on that right away.
I was kind of thinking she also, when you think about it, Rory's just now 16, at an age where Lorelai really could go out and date and meet more people and not have to be so worried about her child when it comes to dating. So maybe that's part of why she might not be ready for marriage. She wants to just kind of experience that part of life that she didn't get to in her late teens, early 20s. I don't know.
Did you get the sense that she said bye bye Christopher, or was he kind of needing to get back to something?
Maybe both. More her saying bye for now.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think it was probably both, in the sense that after that discussion, Christopher probably didn't want to stick around, knowing, like, being heartbroken or like being upset about how it went. He wouldn't want to stick around, and he probably knows that Lorelai wouldn't want him around. Like, it was time. It was a good time to leave, kind of.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like he's not quite such the type of person who just sort of drives in on a motorcycle, sweeps you off your feet, and then you wake up the next morning and they're gone without you knowing. It felt like in this episode, I got the sense that if she had said yes, that he would have truly put, some degree of effort into making that work. Or maybe I'm asking something that could potentially spoil us for the future, but my impression of him was that he was that type of the guy everybody loves. He's the golden child kind of, and then but never really able to, like a fish that you can't hold on to, just slipping out of your hands constantly. And that wasn't the impression that I got in the episode itself. I felt like he was way more of a lost soul and really genuinely looking for some degree of stability. Proud, like, obviously like the business that he was doing didn't work out, but you get a sense that he wants that kind of stuff to work out.
So I don't want to spoil too much, and I think your questions will be answered, but keep in mind what he said is that his business is on the West Coast, and they're technically on the East Coast. So whatever happened, they would have to consider a long distance relationship for at least a little bit. And so I don't know how stable that would be. 2, he hasn't been to Stars Hollow since they lived there. So he's not someone who kept track for a long time. So again, that would give me pause as to his stability. And 3, his business isn't doing well, and that's when he comes to Stars Hollow. So to me, from where we're sitting right now, it sounds to me like he was running away and hiding. This was a chance for him to go hide somewhere else from the reality of what's happening.
I can see that, Mary. I agree with that.
And he really is convincing there, though, at the very beginning when he's like, Lorelai, I know it sounds crazy, but this one I really think, is going to work, Is he saying that, like, is he just that good of a liar? Or does he really truly believe I can get this thing going? It's not there yet, but I really truly think I can get this thing going.
I think he will chase feelings more than anything else. And he kind of just goes whichever way the wind blows. And I don't know. I'm going to let you form your own opinion. It's like, I like Christopher sometimes, and I can see what she likes about him, but I can also see why she is incredibly like suspicious and skeptical of him. I think it's almost like he's falling back on the traditional option because his parents kept drilling into his brain that it's like the proper thing to do, like with Emily and Richard, and he's the kind of person where, with Lorelai, she rejects that at every chance. But he's like, oh, well, maybe this didn't work out, so maybe we should do the thing that they wanted us to do.
I also, though, I've always, at this point of what we've heard about Christopher, what we have now seen relating to Christopher, I get the impression that he always has been waiting for Lorelai, and that he just has always wanted to be with her. So he just kind of takes a chance, any opportunity he gets to see if she wants to try it as well. But that's just my impression of him right now at this point, as far as we've seen in season 1.
Tasha?
Okay, so I've been wondering this question every single time Chris comes into town, and even more so with tonight's episode. Considering that this is his first time to Stars Hollow, my question is, and there's an episode that kind of ties in with this, but there's no spoilers of what I'm about to say. Where did Chris go after Rory was born? Right, that's the thing I wonder. Did he go straight to California? Like, was he in Connecticut?
Like he went on to like a whole bunch of different business ventures. Like they tried to get him involved in things. He didn't go to university.
Well, yeah,
that's what the father was talking about. But she or Richard, someone alludes to he had many different ventures and they never got anywhere. So he just went to work, I guess.
True. Tiffany's flashing.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, like, this episode is a part that just always confused me, and I don't know if like it was just like a plot hole or something. But when Christopher's dad is saying that his whole life was derailed because she got pregnant, and I'm like, wait a minute, but he didn't help raise her. So how is that? Like, he didn't go to Princeton because she had the baby, and I was
about to say the same thing. Yeah. I really was about to say the same thing. Like, I don't get why. I don't get why this should have affected his trajectory in any way.
Right, like the way they were speaking was like that he helped raise the baby like at the beginning or something, and then I'm just like, I was going, what? That doesn't make any sense.
Like they're using that as an excuse as to why he didn't go to Princeton, not because he decided not to go. They're just blaming it on Lorelai and the baby.
Yeah, and Lorelai even tells him that, well, like, I didn't want you to get stuck. We got to go do what you wanted to do. So it makes no sense.
Unless if you saw it at the time as like it was a huge scandal, and so he was so distracted by Lorelai, his grades fell, and you know he didn't qualify to go, and then they blamed that on the baby.
Oh yeah, that's possible. Because they were still in high school.
That makes sense to me. That makes sense. I was blown away by how Lorelai, in particular. I mean, I was glad that Richard at least did not just tear that guy apart for even suggesting what he was suggesting while Rory was in the room. I mean, that was the part that I was like, what?
But I will always lose respect for Christopher for not doing it, because that's your daughter. Like, stand up to your father to protect your daughter.
Sure, but Lorelai didn't do it either.
I think she was too intimidated by these people, considering the history, because I'm sure she's endured like that kind of talk from him when she was 16. So thinking just like based on own experience, like the people who were your parents' friends when you're a kid can still be intimidating when you're an adult.
Right, and she said that she felt like she was 16 again, like after the whole incident. So maybe she didn't feel like she could like speak up.
Right. It was just that was usually. Sorry. Go ahead, Nikki.
Sorry. I almost get the impression that like we're almost supposed to relive that moment a little bit when they told their parents that they were pregnant, like that they were supposed to be those 16-year-old kids that are getting scolded by their parents, and they're just supposed to sit there and take it.
Yeah, that makes sense. It was just easily the nastiest moment that I've seen in the series. It was it was just so nasty, you know, specifically just because Rory was there, you know, to suggest in front of a girl that like you are a mistake, you know, is just like beyond, you know, I just can't believe it, you know.
Yeah, I don't think this is a spoiler, but I once listed at least 180 of the characters on Gilmore Girls in order from my favorite to my least favorite. And this episode always reminds me that I don't remember where anybody else really fits in, but Strobe is at the very, very bottom. So he is by far out of the entire series my most hated character.
Okay, I can say something about that. So kind of funny you bring that up, Lisa, because we kind of had a funny moment in considering ranking characters. Because I made my own tier, and we kind of had a laugh about that last night. It's on my Twitter if you want to go look at it.
I'm B-list. Spoiler alert. I'm B-list in Tasha's rankings.
You will never let me live that down.
No.
I almost didn't bring it up because I don't know where I ranked Brian on there, but I'll have to go back and look.
Anyway, so what I was gonna say, kind of like when somebody, I can't remember who said it, about how Chris didn't stand up for Rory and neither did Lorelai. I kind of, in the same sentence, like, well, when your parents are yelling at you, no matter what age you are, and depending on your parent, you kind of feel like you're a kid again. And like, do I say something? Like, I maybe, well, she was 32, 33 at that time. It's like, do I even say something now? But I kind of feel like it was so quick, but you did catch Chris saying, Dad, don't, because it didn't like say like exactly like, don't call my kid a mistake, but I kind of feel like in very few words, because Chris has very few words sometimes, Dad, don't kind of like encompasses like, Dad, I know exactly where you're going with this. don't you dare type thing. And I mean, to be quite frank, and pardon my language, and to echo Emily, he is a big ass. And if he was on the tier ranking that I made last night, I would have put him along with the bottom line characters, even below Mitchum and Bigger for obvious reasons. But I honestly think, like,
I do not even know who those are.
You'll know. But no, I like felt so bad for like both Laura and Chris, just because, like, regardless of what happened, it's like, it's so, like, they've made something of themselves. I mean, we all know what happened to Chris, but like Lorelai has come so far, and Lorelai has like built her life up, and she has like a great job, she has a house and all that, and then to still get knocked down and to kind of be frozen in time in a parent's eyes kind of sucks. Like I'm going through that myself, and so I don't know. There's a big, like, I feel bad for this character, and can we talk about Luke, please?
Well, wait, for Mary, I saw your mic was flashing a second ago.
That too.
I was just gonna, sorry, I want to talk about Luke too at some point, but I was gonna say, like, I get everything Tasha was saying, and I agree, but I think Lorelai stood up to her father, and I feel like Christopher could have built up some more courage to do a little bit more. But I want to point this to John. One of my absolute favorite Emily moments was in this show, and was in this episode.
Oh, yes, mine too.
With, like, I think there's one other one that tops it for me later. The way she talks to Rory, that is like the quintessential I just want to hug you and never let you go kind of moment.
Almost made me cry.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to pipe up there in the episode, but I mean, of course, I was thinking, like, yes, thank you, Emily. You just had like a real bad episode for me recently, and now you're back on my good list. That was a really, really, really beautiful moment, and so honest. And I mean, I think Emily is a good person. I think she's the worst of herself when you know, I've said it before. I think that the Gilmores across the board do not manage their stress well, and that goes for Rory too, right? Like, you know, snapping in the middle of class and snapping at her grandmother at the party. You know, like when they hit their, like, I mean, and you know, of course, like, you know, nobody really does that well with stress, but I think that's something that's specific to this family. And when Emily is at her best, I think she's just such a lovely person.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have to wonder if the reason why Emily was so excited to have this dinner and to get everybody together was, I think she maybe thought that Rory could be that unifying element that made all of the bad stuff go away, and they could focus on how great Rory is, and, you know, how everybody has moved on. And I think she was probably shocked how things turned out. And I think that moment that she had with Rory really speaks to that, you know, she wouldn't have put Rory in that situation if she felt that that's how it was going to turn out. I really think that she thought that they were all going to have a really nice evening.
Hey folks, just really quickly, I'm gonna actually keep this running for another 10 minutes past because of our snag. If folks on the East Coast, that if it's getting a little too late for you, I totally understand if you have to jump out. I'm going to be jumping out at around 8:40 because I have to make a phone call to someone whose birthday is tonight or today, and but I want to keep talking for another 10 minutes. Also, before we shift over to Luke really quickly, somebody in Instagram Live, who is also in our clubhouse room, Rachel, said something really interesting, which was that she felt that, going back to the Christopher thing, that sort of a big part of this is that Christopher's life was actually kind of crumbling at this point, and that a big part of his inspiration to, you know, to sort of strangely proposed to her, was really kind of out of a desperation to find something good at a moment in his life when things are really bad. And that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, that's kind of that whole running away, and if things are bad, here's something I can make work. That's totally true.
Yeah. Let's chat about Luke.
Yes. Oh my God. Like I've seen, sorry, I just took the lull as an invitation to talk. I've never gotten like emotional really about Luke until like rewatching it today. And like that scene where like he's sitting there, well not sitting there, standing there and then just like waiting and then just like slams the door. It's like, oh, that tugs on your heartstrings. And then like when Lorelai's sitting there and he's like, it's okay. It's like he's trying to fight back, like getting emotional himself. And I just,
Do you think he really forgives her though?
of course.
I don't know. I kind of feel like it's a polite, it's okay. Like it wasn't an emergency. You just blew me off. It's okay, whatever.
He will when he processes it. He always takes time.
Like at the end, that's why I said it doesn't take much for them.
I think if she would have explained what happened with Rory, that he would have understood better, but she didn't really explain anything to him. So I think that he's still a little upset.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I think too. I think I was waiting for her to tell him what happened.
Well, I think he already feels ousted a little because Christopher is there, right? Because they still keep having these little moments. And, you know, I think he's feeling like he's getting closer to her. And then, you know, Christopher shows up. So he's like, okay, now it's another guy. Like,
Yeah, I don't know how long Luke can kind of, I don't know the endurance that this guy is going to have to sort of have to kind of keep getting pushed back by Lorelai. He clearly likes her, but man, he's suffering through a lot.
he keeps hoping. Oh, hey, John, on a side note, I sent you a picture of the movie I was talking about that's related to the Oxford English Dictionary about how they wrote it.
Oh, cool.
Awesome. So you can look.
Yeah, I really dig my OED. I have two of them. I mean, believe it or not, I have two of them. Yeah, I bought one when I was in college because when I went to theater school, and when you get to a certain point in most conservatory theater programs, you go deep into Shakespeare. And having an OED back in the 90s when I went to school for Shakespeare is extremely important because you have to understand the words that were being used in the Shakespeare, like in the context of that era. So the OED has all these, English words, but it has their like first use, like how that word was used for the first time. It has definitions for the word that are archaic, that are not being used anymore, which is really helpful when you need to decode Shakespeare. So I bought my OED for that, and I've always just kind of geeked about it. I love just opening it up every once in a while and just like flipping through it, and just or thinking about some word that that just kind of comes to mind, and I just think like, where did that word come from? Now we've got like a lot of websites like etymology.com and whatnot that'll allow you to get the answers to some of that stuff easily. But the OED is really fun because it actually has like usage and gets into like a lot of that. Anyway, long story short,
I think you'll really like the movie
then if you're into that part of that.
Oh yeah, and then and it comes with because the OED is actually an encyclopedia length volume, so it's actually not one book. It's a huge shelf of books, and so that thing that she's buying, which I bought as well, is that entire shelf of books literally compacted into this one giant tome. And the way that they do it is that every page has 9 pages on it. So every page of the tome has 9 pages from the real OED, and they've been shrunk down really, really, really small. So if you open up a page, it's just like a gray mass, and you need this special magnifying glass to actually read it. You can't read it without this magnifying glass. And somewhere in the late 90s, I lost the magnifying glass. So for many years, I just had this OED that like I couldn't really read, because it was just a gray mass. Like every page is a gray mass of like tiny, like microscopic text. And then one day on eBay, I saw somebody I was always looking for the magnifying glass, and I couldn't find one. And then I found somebody was selling an OED with the magnifying glass for $150. So I bought it. So I bought the second one for the magnifying glass to add to my first one. Anyway, that's me.
Awesome. Babsy, do you and John like spar with your dictionaries? Use them as weapons?
That's something we should definitely explore. Sounds like something that could be really fun.
Well, I mean, she's as much of a geek about German German etymology as I can get about English etymology. I'd say Babsy is even more of a language nerd than I am. Tasha.
Thank you. 2 things. One, you're so foreshadowing right now with everything you've just said, John. It's crazy. But I was actually, while you guys were talking about that, because I've actually wanted to know what the price is now compared to what it was back in the 90s, looked it up. It's on Amazon, and it is $458.61, down from $490. And that's like the huge one with the slipcase, with the reading glass, and all of that stuff.
There's a couple of different kinds. There's one that came out before the one that I have, and the one that she's buying in the episode. That's actually 2 volumes, and that one, the text is not quite as shrunk down, obviously, because there's 2 volumes, and the little slip like magnifying glass is like an actual little like handheld magnifying glass. That one's really cool. That one's actually a little bit more expensive because it's a little bit more of a collector's item. That one, that I remember my Shakespeare teacher, she had that one, and that one was like all really antique-y looking and stuff. But the one that I have is also like about a $500 purchase if you get it on eBay as well. I just happened to like find some crazy deal one day and I just grabbed it. But there's also a couple of different versions of it. There was one that was specifically made for some sort of I want to say it was made exactly the same specs, exact same book, but it was like a special limited edition created for some club, some language club that if you were a member of and you pay the subscription, that you could like buy these special ones. So some of those are floating around. And I believe the one that I got for $150 is that one. And then the one that I got in the 90s was the one that you could buy at Barnes and Noble or Borders or something. Oh my gosh, this has just gotten way too geeky. Like we've gotten a little too.
I just hope that
dictionary
magnifying glass is like in some sort of safe place that you're never going to lose it again, because then you'd have to buy a third one.
I know, right? No, it's sitting there with one of them. It's an awesome thing if you can get your hands on an OED and just like look at it. It's impressive. The pages of that book also are like they're like tissue paper. They're so thin because they need to not just fit 9 pages to a page. They also have to have so many pages. So like it's like tissue paper when you're like turning them. Like it's really it's a really cool thing. I don't know. It's something that I geek out on.
Actually, John, before you go, I just wanted to ask you, for Babsy, has she ever seen the Truman movie, like the Truman Show movie?
You know what? I don't think I have. I mean, I know, I know about it.
With Jim Carrey.
Yeah, with Jim Carrey, but I don't think I've ever watched it.
When John was talking earlier about the back talent and how they like would stop and go, I kept seeing like the Truman Show in my head. So if I was thinking, if you were really interested to see how that actually like all comes together, that would probably be a good movie to see, because they actually do that, and you can see like where they have to keep going back and everybody starts going back into town.
We should watch it. That's a good movie.
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought of that, but
I kept seeing it when he was talking. That's what I kept
on
seeing.
Remarket.
Say again?
Let's watch it together on Remarket.
Yeah. That's a good idea. I like that.
Along with the movie about the OED.
Oh,
Yeah, you guys can do that one on your own.
I'm excited to watch that. Like, I'll check that out.
I've already seen it. Sean Penn is fantastic in that movie.
Oh wow, Sean Penn is in it. Interesting.
Sean
I'm
Penn
gonna
and Mel Gibson. They're based on real people.
Cool. I'm gonna actually jump out because I have to make a call. But I've made all of you moderators. Same as always. I'm gonna leave, but I encourage anybody to stay and continue chatting. Obviously, this is your opportunity to talk about all kinds of things that are very spoilery. And for any folks in the audience who don't want to get spoiled, perhaps this is the time for you to also duck out. Thank you again, everybody, for joining me and for your awesome insight. And I say it every time, but I want to say it again. Spread the word.